So professional douchebag Steven Crowder put out a video exposing veganism, and it's full of a bunch of crap and garbage. And we're going to go through it right now and debunk the hell out of it. So, without further ado...
Question of the day. We've had proposals from Democrats and Republicans as it relates to government regulation of your everyday life. It ranges from banning vaping to no more red meat. This is what we're going to talk about today. What's the most ridiculous proposed regulation that you've heard of in the past few weeks? And do you think that right now
Nobody's
Republicans
proposed
and Democrats
this,
are two sides of the same coin? I think we're kind of there. But let's move on to the topic at hand. Yes. Lest you need a new reason to disdain veganism.
What are the old reasons?
In CNN, there's a
Steven,
recent
what are the old reasons?
town hall.
Yeah.
By the way, they're doing an LGBTQ town hall.
What?
For LGBT issues.
Oh, that'll be
like
fun.
What?
We're less than a minute in, and he's already going on the anti-gay.
Mixed martial arts.
That's his whole
#1
shtick.
and 2 track and field stars are men competing in women's sports. Like what else?
As you can see, professional
you can
douchebag.
Take a dump anywhere you want, practically, and you don't even have to go into a restroom anymore. No one's going to say anything.
You're privileged.
What more? You get, I mean, marriage is way down the list because that's like what issues? All right. Anyway, so we have to go back. Climate town hall.
Yeah.
Let me actually talk about what I'm supposed to talk about.
For people who missed the stream, Democrats have been presenting a laundry list of things they want to stop Americans from doing to save the environment.
Really, that's news to me.
These is eating meat. And it's not just the DNC, by the way. You've been hearing this for a long time.
You know, the UN just released a study that said we're going to be okay if the vast majority of the world goes vegetarian immediately.
From using a straw to eating a burger,
we're all
am I
gonna
part of
die.
the problem? In a certain way, yes.
Are we prepared to deal with the health and environmental consequences of maintaining current levels of red meat and dairy product consumption?
Some of it is with light bulbs, some of it is on straws, some of it, is on cheeseburgers, right?
It's awesome.
All right, I have to stop him here. And there we have the vegan superhero, the mighty Thor, Natalie Portman. But already, everything is taken out of context so far. I did a lengthy video on the Climate Town Hall last week, and, I mean, Pete Buttigieg literally said, I love cheeseburgers. Kamala Harris said, I love cheeseburgers. Pete Buttigieg also said, oh, it's ridiculous. These people are proposing that we're going to abolish the cow. The clip of Elizabeth Warren there, immediately after what they showed, she went on to say, oh, the big oil companies, the fossil fuel companies, they love that we're talking about hamburgers. Because they're the ones doing all the pollution. It's not people eating hamburgers. We gotta take them on. You don't have to do a thing. And I criticized her for that. But of course, I can't expect Steven Crowder to actually have any kind of journalistic integrity at all. He just takes things out of context. So, strike one. Let's see how quickly he can get to 3 and strike himself out.
Polluting, it's the #1
librarian
contributor to pollution.
One day a week. One day without eating animal products.
And you can look like me.
Can have a huge impact.
Ad hominem attacks, like they have nothing to say. It's just ad hominem attacks.
Join us.
Join us
and go meat-free on Mondays.
Who are those other 2 broads in there? It's like they put in a line supervisor.
I recognize one of them.
Do you?
But I can't pick her out.
We need someone to fill this out because it's a little too white male-y, even though, you know, it's the single highest grossing musician of all time with Paul McCartney.
Women.
Take the second AD, just toss her in there.
Is this supposed to be
I think she was in Good Wife.
Do I need any makeup? No, you're good. You're next to Paul McCartney. No one's going to notice.
It's not funny.
So, obviously, the main point
Who
here
finds
is
this
they're all
funny?
hypocrites.
He's still alive?
But that doesn't make an...
Okay, so Pete Buttigieg is a hypocrite for saying that he loves burgers and then eating burgers. Elizabeth Warren is a hypocrite for undermining the effects of animal agriculture and the sheer amount of animal products that we eat in this country, undermining that in regards to climate change, and then partaking in it. She's a hypocrite. Andrew Yang, even after he brought up the UN study, he said, as all the other candidates said, well, I believe in American freedom, and we can't tell people what to do. That was the theme of the night. So, like, again, since he took those previous points out of context, this is nothing. This is just stupid. This has no bearing on anything.
An argument. So, hold your nose, here comes the cold water. Veganism, this is something you don't hear a lot, is potentially much worse for the planet.
No.
Let me cycle through this.
Okay,
Reason 1, sustainability. A lot of people, I talked about this with Leah Keith a long time ago. Topsoil erosion.
Yeah.
So, do we say omnivorous? Is that
omnivorous? Yes.
Omnivorous, yeah,
Yes.
omnivorous. Omnivorous farming is actually a lot more sustainable than the vegan model. So
Right.
globally,
really?
I want to make sure I get this right. 25 to 40
He wants to make sure he gets
billion
it right.
tons of topsoil are lost every year to erosion.
Okay.
Mainly due to plowing, intense.
So that's the Food and
cropping.
Agriculture Organization,
in the UK, the
FAO, that was
topsoil
the
depletion
source
is
there.
so bad that the farmers think they may actually never be able to harvest that land at all again.
Wow.
Yep.
And how do you combat this? This is
Let's see. Let's see what they say. Let's see what your own source says. They have a little video on this. You can see Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Farmers can adopt sustainable soil management practices like terracing, crop rotation. Huh. Okay. Let's see if that's what Stephen Crowder mentions. I don't see any issue with, where does veganism come into play? I don't really know. I'm not sure why veganism is a problem.
something a lot of people, you won't hear it from Paul McCartney in AD number 1 and 2. One of them was a photographer, really was an Instagram model. Who
Had to be.
I like her butt.
We need her in the, in
We're
the
going to
shoes.
show I like her butt when she does the twerk. So the way to combat this, the topsoil, is just letting the land, just letting it return to being grazed
Let it
pasture for a
be.
period, and that results in
Grazed
complete
pasture.
halting of the erosion.
Grazed pasture. You mean like this? You mean like this? This is modern farming. This is what we do now. So, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Erosion, and it rebuilds the soil. Basically, what you need to do is leave it for the animals, and then we eat those animals.
I think that's a very good system. By the way, why are they just now learning of what
Okay.
we learned in the Dust Bowl?
We'll take it from you,
like
'cause
we
you're
figured this
obviously
out a heck of
a
a long time
scientist.
ago. Why is this coming back up?
Yeah.
Do people not read? They don't. They must
No,
not
they
read.
absolutely don't. You answered I just wanted to remain silent.
He's
so you
saying that
don't
people
answer
don't
your-
read. He's criticizing people for not reading
Tuesdays, I show
after he
veganism
ignores his
sustainable
own
by the world
sources.
in, omnivorous diets in the long term. Here's
Yeah.
a collage for you.
He ignores his own sources and takes people out of context, but he's like, oh, people don't read. Oh, here's a collage for you of 2 things probably taken out of context also, saying that vegan diets aren't sustainable. Okay.
coal in her stockings because of the environment.
Do people not read?
And before we
Botched
move
that
on
there.
to other reasons, hit the notification bell. Join up at Mug Club, ladderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. If you have not already, you get access to the full daily show, which you're not
Boom.
seeing here on YouTube because we just can't, because it'll mostly get banned. So another
I'm too much
reason
of a
veganism might be worse
douchebag
for
that
the
I can't
environment,
say stuff on
people
YouTube.
don't think about this. It's often overlooked. The importation of foods.
Yeah.
Here's what people don't realize. Vegans are not advocating an apples only if you live in the Northeast diet, while
So
Floridians
it's only
and
vegan
Californians
food that gets
enjoy the
imported.
cornucopia of a year-round growing season. Keep this in mind, too. When we talk about if your great-grandmother didn't eat it, you should. Well, your great-grandmother was lucky to get an orange in her stocking. And if your great-great-grandfather was a dick, he would give your great-grandmother coal in her stockings because he wanted to discipline her and give her the fear of God and ruin the magic
what is
of
he
Santa.
talking
So the point is, they didn't get to eat a varied diet.
No.
Okay, great. So what's your point?
Does everyone understand where I'm going with this?
Yes.
The point is they want a varied diet, and it requires a lot of food like quinoa, avocados. They be imported, often from countries that don't have the same regulations or sustainable farming
none.
practices
No regulations.
that you have in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, so just take some quote out of context again and paste it over the top of an avocado to make it seem like avocados are such a big problem for the climate. Cool.
It's similar to when they talk about we want to shut down fracking, we want to shut down this pipe, we want to stop us from having access to our own oil reserves in Alaska. Okay, I understand that you don't like using energy, right? You don't like oil, just like
You don't like using energy.
eating animals.
That's not
That
a straw
being
man at
said,
all.
people in the world are eating animals. So you're going to have to decide how they kill those animals. That being said, people in the world are growing vegetables. You don't have control over how they grow them in Mexico. When we talk about oil, you don't have control over what they do in Saudi Arabia or in these places in the Middle East that I think sometimes I feel
doesn't
like
have
just
anything to
make
do
look
with
like
anything.
LL's bachelor pad.
This has nothing to do with anything.
Nice. Well, look, and they kind of take you right to the process.
To just say, where we do fracking here, we have an EPA. It's like, no, let's just not do that. Well, we're still driving cars, and so we're dependent on oil from other places.
So
and
appeal
it
to
ends up
futility.
being just as bad, but they're taking your your right to choose in the process, right? Your right to choose kind of what products and services that you want to be able to use, right? And by mandating, you have to do something like this. No, it's better for the economy, and I think
Literally nobody
By the
suggested
way,
that.
go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the interesting things is so what we're saying is that it's more. There's a moral imperative to no longer eat fish.
Yes,
there's a
that's
moral
correct.
imperative to not eat meat because of the
Yes,
harm
that's
it
correct.
causes to the environment and to the animals themselves.
Farts.
But we're not ever going to consider the millions of animals that are killed when there's widespread crop planting. I mean, there's like when you kill these fields, you'd have to destroy
natural habitats.
natural
You have to-
habitats,
yeah.
quail, deer.
Yeah, and we farm crops and then feed them to animals. Like, this is such a common... Non-vegans think this is such a gotcha, like, oh, well, animals are killed to get your avocados. Animals are killed for your rice. Gotcha. It's like, no, you're an idiot. Okay? Look at this. So, oh man, we kill one animal to produce 1 million calories worth of grain on average. So I guess that justifies killing 251 chickens. Or 251 animals to produce 1 million calories worth of chickens. It's like, dude, you're not making a point.
That's my number one reason, but we will get to that. I have stats to undergird it. It's actually worse than you're thinking.
Undergird it, do it.
But by the way, we're talking about this. It's so bad now that countries like Mexico, Kenya, they've completely depleted their supply of certain foods. And this is exactly why we need to build a wall. Okay, I don't stop.
It's the avocados.
I cannot.
No. We need the avocados, please.
By the way, that was just Tom Selleck. Did you know that Tom Selleck was stealing water in California when they weren't allowed to use? Yeah, he was stealing water for
what? Oh my God,
farm, for all I know. Or fixing.
What
do you think is better for the environment? Eating venison from a deer you bagged yourself, or eating meat from your local yak farm, for all I know? Or fixing yourself $20 toast with avocados that were grown in Mexico.
Right, for all you know, you don't know anything.
The trucks to travel 2,500 miles.
Okay, so according to Steven Crowder, all non-vegans in America kill their own venison or go to their local yak farm for their meat. And all vegans, all they eat is avocado toast, and the avocados were all imported from Mexico and spent 2,500 miles on a truck. Okay, cool. That's fun. So this is from the USDA. So I guess this is... Steven Crowder thinks this is like propaganda, liberal propaganda or something. This is cattle imports. And let's look at Mexico. So 1 million heads. Let's look at last year. So we imported almost 1.3 billion cattle from Mexico in 2018. And beef and veal imports. 500 million pounds. Total imports, almost 3 billion pounds. Like, he's acting like, oh, well, you know, it's the vegans that are driving up all the transportation of food from country to country and long distances. Like, you're just making shit up. And also, where's the evidence that vegans even eat more avocados than non-vegans? It's not as if avocados are a staple food in the vegan diet. Yeah, I'm a vegan. I don't even eat avocados. I don't like them, personally. This is not a staple food. Like your whole grains, your legumes, fruits in general, yes, but not necessarily avocados. I mean, there's just so many things you can eat on a vegan diet. And just because avocados come from Mexico, he thinks he's making a point. He's not.
Yeah. That's not even a question at that point. Come on.
Well, it is a question for some folks. That's why I asked.
They're
it,
idiots.
Then I
That's
answered
what
it
I'm saying.
myself. They're not idiots. Don't insult
Yes,
our
they
audience.
are.
Stop
This
it.
guy's almost as big a douchebag as Crowder.
Number 3, carbon emissions. A lot of people don't consider that farming land for crops releases more carbon from their soil than the land left for grazing.
Okay, does it? Let's see. Here's an actual study, not something pulled off some random website. Steven Crowder routinely just sources just whatever he feels like. So, dietary greenhouse gas emissions of meat eaters, fish eaters, vegetarians, and vegans in the UK. Let's go to the abstract. Let's jump right in. Production of animal-based food is associated with higher greenhouse gas emissions than plant-based food. Whoa, wait, what? What? Oh my gosh. So, he's wrong? All I had to do was just look up an actual scientific study? Here we have mean greenhouse gas emissions per 2,000 kilocalories by diet type. So 2,000 kilocalories, typical amount of calories consumed in a day for most people. Let's take a look at this. I mean, they're accusing people of not reading earlier on. Well, I guess they can't count. They don't know that 747 is much less than 6,380. I mean, this is just too easy. It's just too easy. Like, is he going to say anything that can't be debunked with 5 seconds of research? I'm really curious. We've only got a couple more minutes in this video.
Anyway, it's just another example of climate change not considering the reality of the alternatives that they suggest.
Absolutely, and every single time they do it with taxes, the economy, with socialism, and why this shouldn't be any different then. They just don't think about it at all.
We talked about this last week, the cotton bags, organic cotton bags.
Yeah.
You'd have to use that cotton bag 20,000 times to break even.
Okay, so he literally puts up... He debunks himself here because... I mean... So cotton's all the way down here. You could just use any of these other alternatives. You could literally just recycle a plastic bag. You would only have to use it 2 times. But according to Steven Crowder, if one alternative is bad, they must all be bad. It's like you're a child. Like, this is child logic. This is child logic.
With a plastic bag environment. That means that if you went grocery shopping... For over about 380 years, we did the math. So another reason,
that's
number
reasonable.
4.
You did math?
This is something you were just talking
That's
about.
shocking.
The animals actually killed to
Yeah.
protect and to create these crop yields.
Yeah, it's a thing.
A lot of vegans may not realize this. Do you know how it's 20, especially certain grains like wheat,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's corn, I think we have a source, results in 25
I think we have a
times
source.
more sentient animals being killed per kilogram of usable protein. There's more environmental...
I mean, I already went over this, but he's skewing the data because usable protein should not be what's measured. It should be calories. Okay? I mean, protein is recommended to account for the lowest percentage of all the 3 macronutrients, fat, carbohydrates, and protein. Protein is the least in a healthy diet and what's recommended by experts, not by Steven Crowder. Okay? So... Again, I've already gone over this. It's just like...
damage. There's more animal cruelty than farming red meat. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, you're talking about grains. We could solve that problem if we go vegan. And
not killing animals and
grain-free.
eating them is more...
Yeah, but that's just too gay. No. That's a bridge that I'm not willing to cross.
So his arguments now are boiling down to, what you want me to do is gay. How does anybody take this guy seriously? This guy has 4 million subscribers. At the time of me posting this video, I don't have any subscribers, and I have more intellectual, or journalistic integrity, more intellectualism as well, but more journalistic integrity than this guy and his 4 million subscribers.
Unsustainable.
I really thought when you said we could solve this problem, you were just going to kill the vegans. I thought that I was...
Well, there are some people
This
who are
guy casually advocating for genociding all vegans.
Well, I think there's a natural progression there, right? If you're not willing to eat animals, you're willing to eat things that you consider less than the animals, which apparently humans are less important.
Okay, so the genius over here says that the natural progression to not eating animals is eating humans. I mean, like, in what universe are these people from? Like, actually, alternatively... the natural progression from not eating humans is to not eat other sentient creatures that can think and feel and experience subjective reality. Like, you're just making shit up. Like, stop making shit up. Stop making shit up.
Okay.
I feel like we're putting words in their mouth at this point. I don't want to do the Young Turks thing.
Who cares if we're putting words in your mouth? So this whole video... The whole point of this video is to be like, hey, look at what these crazy vegans and these crazy environmentalists are telling us to do. And here's why it's wrong. But then they also say, well, who cares if we're saying things that they're not actually saying? That's your whole thing, is to try to debunk what they're saying. And now you've just devolved into straw manning, and your response is, who cares? These guys are
You're like, I want to be cannibals. They're thinking I'd much rather eat a person.
That's probably not true.
I think you like kale and hydroponics, and you're a dick.
Okay, fine.
In Australia, by the way, alone, billions of animals deliberately killed every year.
Yeah.
Deliberately. This is just to protect fruit and vegetable crops for
Yeah.
human consumption. A lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't even think about this. This is verifiable.
Yeah.
And I get it that you're saying, well, they're not as cute as a cow and they're small because, screw the city mouse who went out to the country.
Mice are less important than cows because they're not as cute, said no vegan ever.
He was an adept.
Oh,
oh my gosh. In Napa Valley, like they actually have laws that say you can't kill animals that are trying to eat your grapes. And by the way, these are not like Concord grapes, like table grapes. They're very expensive when you do the math.
Yeah, it's like the ground owl setting up shop in your backyard in Florida. Next thing you know, you have some yellow hazard tape, and you can't put in your above-ground pool.
You're done.
You've got to change the pool shape to a little kidney bean-shaped pool so you have room cut out for the ground owl, which is a bird with the gift of flight that lives in the dirt. Please, let's have a ground owl cookout.
Vegans are wrong because birds that make nests in my yard are a minor inconvenience.
What would we be missing without them? I don't understand.
And none of this is to say that we can't be smarter in our approach or the compromises. And, I don't know. I've seen these commercials for insect protein on podcasts. I don't know exactly. I don't know how but
is this Joe Rogan?
So, like, heaven forbid we eat beans,
goats
but
use
let's
far
eat
less
insect.
land than cattle. So that's something that's just kind of a cultural deal. We don't use goats as much. There are little solutions like this. I do think, though, this is important to note. When you look at the town hall, and how long was it? 7 hours, the climate change town hall, and you look how often they're talking about it. It's
and
like
nobody
this
advocated
neo-environmentalism,
stopping
and veganism. It's not that it's pro-animal. We all love animals. It's anti-human.
Yeah.
30 seconds ago, he just said that if an owl got into his yard and caused him a minor inconvenience, he would kill it and eat it and have a cookout. And now he says he loves animals. And apparently, adopting a lifestyle and advocating for a lifestyle that could potentially save us from extinction is anti-human.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are the same people. A lot of people don't understand this. These are the same people who lobbied and created the trans fat epidemic in this country. So, for example, McDonald's, they used to use tallow for fries. After lobbying from vegetarians to the USDA, they switched to hydrogenated vegetable oils because it was healthier. Right? A lot of people don't. It started off with the agenda.
So, like, where's the evidence
to
for this
get more
vegetable
Americans on a
lobby?
vegetarian diet.
The vegetarian lobby.
Of
Big
eggs,
broccoli.
dietary cholesterol,
Big
saturated
broccoli.
fat. A lot of people want to act like it was just General Mills, right? It was their fault, or it was the Kellogg's. But the reason a lot of misinformation regarding dietary cholesterol and the saturated fat was because of the vegetarian lobby.
The
and
vegetarian
their agenda
lobby.
above truth.
He puts his agenda above truth this entire video. And then he wants to call out this mythical vegetarian lobby. I mean, I have never once in my life seen a commercial urging people to eat more fruits and vegetables. But every single commercial break on any television show that you've ever watched in your life, there's something telling you to drink milk. You can't be healthy without the breast milk of another species, which biologically makes 0 sense. There's, every TV show that you watch, a family sits down to eat, it's meat, this is a joke. Billboards everywhere with meat and animal products. I've never once in my life seen an advertisement for vegetables. Never once in my life. And he's acting like there's this almighty powerful vegetarian lobby that's funding phony research. Like, dude, you have it 100% backwards. 100% backwards.
And they're doing the same thing now. Is instead of what really bothers me is when they say that Republicans are anti-science because we say, hold on a second, wait a second, we shouldn't ban people from eating burgers or make them ungodly expensive because of
nobody said that.
Believe you're living in a world of what if with climate change. Well, you're anti-science. Hold on a second. Do you believe that if someone is born a man but he cuts off his cock that he's a woman? Now it's just hate speech. What happened to science? Why are we murky in the rule book? What happened to science when we're talking about carbon emissions? Right now, instead of claiming that their dogmatic diet is better for you, which is what we saw with vegetarians in the 60s and 70s, they are now playing the same misleading angle on the American public by trying to convince them to take this diet up, not because it's better for you, but because it's better for the planet. Well, guess what? We found out that it wasn't necessarily better for you, and we now know that it is very less likely worse for the planet.
So it's not better for you? Okay. Adventist cohorts here. Not better for your health. Let's see. Let us see. think we need to go down to the conclusions here. Vegetarians have consistently shown to have a lower risk of cardiometabolic outcomes in some cancers across all 3 prospective cohorts of Adventists. Beyond meatless diets, further avoidance of eggs and dairy products may offer a mild additional benefit. Compared to lacto-ovo-vegetarian diets, vegan diets seem to provide some added protection against obesity, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular mortality. So, the things that kill most people, basically. And this is from Cornell University. I mean, you could just take this screenshot and it debunks literally everything that he says. So, for every kilogram of high-quality animal protein produced, livestock are fed nearly 6 kilograms of plant protein. So why don't humans just eat that? On average, animal protein production in the U.S. requires 28 kilocalories of energy for every kilocalorie of protein produced for human consumption. Since he's so obsessed with protein, let's just run with this here. Grain production, on average, requires 3.3 kilocalories for every kilocalorie of protein. And grains are less protein dense. So you're getting more the numbers per calorie, total calorie, would be even more in favor of the grains. Every kilogram of beef produced takes 100,000 liters of water. That's insanity. 900 liters of water go into producing a kilogram of wheat. And 500 liters per kilogram of potatoes. I mean, like I said, all these guys on this show, they're just professional douchebags. They didn't provide any credible evidence to back up any of their claims. They consistently use strawman attacks and ad hominem attacks. And they were trying to be funny. And, I mean, their jokes honestly almost put me to sleep. So, that's all I really have to say about that. So, don't listen to these douchebags. Time to go vegan is now.